Hey friends, coming to you live. Actually, am semi on time this evening. Surprise, surprise. Let me just share this live stream. Give me a second, as usual. Wi-Fi is a little bit crazy in the room temple. I was a little bit late. Like, I was actually ready at 7:30, but I've been fart-assing around using all the different effects that you can have on your live streams. And then I've just been pretty much laughing to myself and playing with that for the last 7 minutes. So, yeah, anyway. I am here. I am ready. We are going to be talking about some spiritual shit this evening. Funny, funny. All right, give me a second. If you are joining this live stream, if you can see me and hear me as usual, please say hi, give me a wave. Where is it in a group? I'll just add this into my inner circle group. All right. So send me a love heart, a comment if you can hear me. Refresh that page and I think I'm good to go. Hey Tila. All right, so I'm feeling a little bit buzzed right now. I almost fell asleep putting Luca to bed. It's like when you get to that stage of the evening and you lay down and then your body's like, oh, you feel yourself like getting heavier and dropping into that blissful kind of warm state of being. That's where I was at. And it was like, oh, do I really want to get up and do this live stream? And it was just like, yeah, you said you would get up. So anyway, this transmission this evening is coming to you via trusty Motivate oil, or like the dregs that I have left in this bottle. I'm literally like kind of getting high off the vapors to uplift and elevate me. If I use this topically, particularly at nighttime, I feel really energized, and sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to actually wind down and then go to sleep. So anyway, what I wanted to share and talk about this evening is literally spiritual shit. Like, it wasn't just like a vague term of like, yeah, let's talk about some spiritual shit. I actually want to talk about taking a spiritual shit, right? So what I mean by that, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, and this has been a running joke for many, many years, particularly with some really close friends of mine, some dear sisters that are into transformational healing work and to the kind of esoteric, metaphysical, shamanic dimensions of healing, the holographic quantum field that have an ability to hold space for people in different ways and also for themselves, and that are committed to getting uncomfortable and really looking into those facets of the self, into the shadow, which bring about the intense catharsis, right? And what I have experienced over the years, and there seems to be a common theme that I have shared with many friends, is like you will be going through some type of theme or a process, and you're becoming more and more aware of these patterns of behaviors or these thought patterns that you might have, particular relationship dynamics. And that's not solely like intimate relationships, I mean broad scale, so friendships, business partnerships, you know, community stuff going on. Perhaps you feel like you're being, I don't really want to use the word trigger because I really relate trigger to those that are working through, you know, deep traumatic experiences where a trigger is actually a real psychological thing, not a kind of bastardized term from the New Age movement, like, oh, we're so triggered. But I guess what's a better word to use for that? Prompted from sensory information in your environment to feel a particular way, or that you go into a very set narrative of reaction, right? And then you'll go through that process of shadow work and you begin to question and you begin to have reality checks and find that deeper meaning of, you know, why you're experiencing that, or Perhaps that deep soul excavation comes up and you realize that there's some sacred wounding there that needs healing, needs your awareness, needs your attention. Your body will call you there. Then what happens is there's the breakdown and the catharsis, where you feel like you're losing all sense of control in the context of there's a perceived chaos. There's an intensity of feeling, of emotion. It's like you are grappling onto every sense of the known reality, because you kind of know that you're transitioning from one state to the other. So we go through this process of breakdown, and then you'll retrieve the medicine of your journey, whatever that is. You'll retrieve your inner wisdom. You'll come to that moment of clarity and insight to be like, like you get the deeper meaning as to why you're experiencing certain things in a particular way. And then the breakthrough happens, right? But there can also be the healing crisis. So through any transformational healing journeys, it usually peaks around day 3 to 5 afterwards. Like that, we get the dopamine rush when we get things and we're like, you get that insight and the epiphany and the deep spiritual revelation, and you kind of ride on that high, and then there's a dip, an emotional dip. And it's normally around this time, transitioning out of the healing crisis, that is like a quantum upgrade. And what can happen is the system, your body temple, the physiological system will begin to clean house. Just as you have dissolved different fragments of the self which no longer serve you. Perhaps it's an old story, an archetypal energy, an ancestral imprint, a belief, pattern, behavior, whatever it is that you're shifting through. Your body will begin to have symptoms of that. A lot of the time people get sick. You'll get like common cold or flu-like symptoms. I know for me, if I get really sick, like I will experience a virus and it'll knock me and I'll get fevers. I know that I'm processing something deeply, because that's really rare. Just with the way that I live my life, the way that I nourish and nurture my body, the way that I move through my emotions, I don't usually get sick. So when things like that knock me for a 6 and there isn't some type of, biological thing happening in the community, then I know like, something's up. I'm kind of going through a cellular upgrade. And what I find is transitioning. So I'll go through that healing crisis. Then I have a compromised immune system. I'll kind of go down, get really sick, and I'll like fever it out for a bit, or, have that vomiting, like the purging coming up. But then the spiritual shit comes in. And if you've ever experienced it, it is a full cleansing, like it is a releasing and letting go, like totally cleaning house. And it's one of those things that happens that like synchronistically coincides with your transformational breakthrough. So if you're not aware of this, or you haven't drawn correlations to that, I encourage you to be more aware of the next time that you feel like you are actually moving through something and you're consciously aware of directing your life in the way that you choose to create that transformational change in your life, and that you're committed to letting go of your bullshit, and you're committed to letting go of your excuses, and you're committed to showing up for yourself in this version of yourself that you know that you are and that you're aligning to. I encourage you to kind of be aware that that is a process. And if you have experienced it, then I would love to hear from you, because it's not just something that is like, this is like a weird thing. Like it's actually a thing that happens. And I know that like when I kind of intellectualize it, I suppose, or kind of look at it with a spiritual lens, I can see that, you can draw correlations between the gut, your gut health, which, helps to create our general overall health and well-being, but it also stores a lot of emotion. And a lot of people that have troubles with letting go, particularly of some tough emotions, generally manifest problems in the gut, in the intestinal tract, in the bowels specifically, which is to do with releasing and letting go. And when that becomes constricted or we hold on, we tend to manifest, bloating or compaction or constipation or any of these types of things in that area. You'll also find that when you are in that really amplified and upgraded energetic state, that you won't actually eat so much, or you will find yourself kind of being drawn to more lighter foods, so more plant-based foods, and that's just an intrinsic thing that your body wisdom is speaking to you. So I wanted to share that this evening. It was like a really funny topic that for some reason felt like I wanted to speak on and to share insight to. And particularly knowing that, like, when you do really let go and release, if you're in that purging state after a transformation, you can actually work with your breath and the way that your bowels and stuff are moving to consciously connect it to whatever the crap is that you're actually releasing and letting go. So it actually becomes a symbolic gesture of releasing and letting go. You can enter into all types of ceremonies of, prayers and releasing and letting go and using fire and all that sort of stuff. But remember that our body is here and that our body wisdom is incredibly fine-tuned to our processes, and that we can work with this innate wisdom, that it doesn't have to be, super cosmic or arbitrary in that sense. It can be a very internal and physical experience, and that is incredibly spiritual in and of itself. And so I guess that's the big reason why I wanted to share that, is because it can be that feedback or validation that you need to be aware that you've come to completion of really releasing and letting that go. And that's coming from no external source other than yourself, because sometimes we get caught up in needing to be validated that the work's been done, that, we have transitioned from one state into the next. And I really encourage people, and this is part of my message, is to remember to access your inner wisdom and to remember to listen to your body, and trusting that you are sovereign and that you are authority over yourself above all else that you know. And the journey is learning how to listen to your body. And that's one way, of the plethora of many different ways that it can speak to you about where you're at and where you're going and where you've been as well, So I just wanted to share that in a very funny, kind of light-hearted manner this evening. And that's also something that I want to speak to as well, just quickly, because I didn't want it to be a big, long, ranty ramble this evening, is whenever you're doing your catharsis work, your deep transformational healing, it doesn't have to be so intensely painful. I think that we get trapped in this story, particularly those that are shadow workers, that are really focused on removing any, whether they're ancestral soul contracts that may have been created, or just contracts that you've created in this lifetime based on particular narratives or belief systems or ideologies or things that you've been programmed with, that you've believed for such a long time, and that you're moving from, you're changing one belief to the next. It doesn't have to be so painful, and that it actually can be really funny. And it can actually be quite joyful to know yourself in that really beautiful, intimate way, to know yourself fully, to come into that depth of presence. There can be so much joy in it, that facing yourself fully, facing your fears, your limiting beliefs, any of the guilt and shame, it doesn't have to be this heavy kind of constricting thing that we become so freaked out about that we don't want to go there. And I really want to share that, because you ultimately get to choose the way you experience and perceive your journey, and that, you know, you can create this sense of space and this state of being of complete open curiosity and wonder for the richness of emotions and the human experience, without being bogged down by how heavy some things can feel. And I know in my journey in life, I've come to that stage, I don't know, many moons ago, when I could see the beauty in my pain and how beautiful it was that I was alive in this body to actually feel, and that I was conscious enough and privileged enough to have the opportunity to question and to be curious and to explore and discover, to seek and to find. Where so many people don't have that experience, you know, just even being able-bodied and able-minded, sometimes we take that for granted as well. And I really want to share that with you, because if you are coming from that space of privilege, then you can come into that state of being a conscious creator about how you explore those inner realms and create different possibilities for yourself as well. Just reading Erin's comment. Yes, sacred does not have to mean serious. Totally. And I think that that's like totally what I embody as well. And I will keep striving for that. You know, you can be so deep and connected to, you know, the earth, the land, the dreaming, the cosmic dimensions, and so grounded in your spirituality that you get to have playfulness and fun and silliness. And if you cuss like I do, or swear like a sailor, that doesn't mean that you're less spiritual. Like, I'm like totally over those narratives, and I really want to encourage that sense of joy and vitality, because it is of a very high vibrational state of being, and it can be the new way of exploring things too. Because so many times, I don't know if you experience it, but I surely do, that when I'm like, you know, in that like deep, like snot everywhere, crying, like, like just like going in it, so overwhelmed and consumed in story, and just everything's coming up, right? When you get to the simple wisdom and the medicine of it, it's fucking hilarious. Like, I've shared this many times before. You literally get to the point where you tilt your head back and you just laugh, because it's like, wow, we created this big drama or story or like whatever, and it was really that simple. And I'm rewiring my brain at the moment, and I'm working on it consistently every day, that I don't have to create the full spectrum of chaos and tension and conflict within certain situations and experiences for me to change. That I can literally bring my awareness to it and go, oh, this could be done a little bit better, and then boom, make the change, rather than waiting until things get worse and worse and worse. And, you know, you feel it and you have these deep emotional reactions and responses, and you're so emotionally connected to it that that's when you do your work, you know, that becomes the catalyst. And it doesn't have to be so, that you can still do the deep healing work from a very light-hearted space. Deep healing doesn't necessarily equate to that deep, intense feeling. And I guess that's what I really wanted to communicate as well, which is why I wanted to talk about spiritual shit this evening, because I think it's hilarious. I think the human body is an amazing, wonderful thing. You know, I used to rock around in Melbourne with a hand-painted singlet that said farts are funny. You know, that was my jam. I think the human body is wonderful, magical, and equally hilarious in the way that it has its biological functions. There's some funny things that happen, you know, and that you don't have to have any shame or anything around it, because we're all human. We all eat, we all breathe, we all drink, we all shit, and we all die in the end. So why take it so incredibly seriously when you can bring that element of lightheartedness, of jovial energy, and come back into that state of being, and to bring play into your life. So I'm going to wrap this one up. It was just a quick one from, you know, quick for me, I suppose. Sending you so much love and many blessings. I hope that this week you can embody and really draw in that kind of cheeky and curious, playful energy and seek ways to emulate that, to activate it, and to also encourage it in other people as well. So be playful in your communication and the ways that you interact as well, because I think that the world needs more of it. Ciao.